my advice to that young adult who maybe has some kids, you have a young family, like what I wish we had was mentors. So like if you are blessed to have couples and parents and mentor older couples and parents that are close, that you can call and get advice and then get some things to lean on, you can avoid mistakes by just listening to somebody.
Yeah. What up, everybody? You're now listening and watching another episode of the Tackle Thursday with JK Podcast, and I am your host, JK, and you know I'm all about helping young adults win in life and at life, and I do so each week on the episode of each podcast episode by tackling different topics that young adults experience and face. And this week on the show, I got another special guest. My guest for today hails from the state of Florida. Niceville to be exact. And I should have known he was from Florida because he got a different swag, got a different drip, and so I should have known. But if you are an MTSU Blue Raider fan, do you know him as a former Blue Raider football player? You know him as the MTSU football chaplain. If you part of his congregation at Zion Christian Ministries, he is your pastor. And then if you're me, then you know him as an amazing man of God, an amazing leader of God's people, a very versatile leader, very, very compatible and relatable pastor and man of God. Man, ladies and gentlemen, y'all help me welcome my special guest for today, Pastor Chris Johnson Sr. What up, Pastor Johnson?
Hey, man, wow. Listen, after an introduction like that, I don't know what to do, man. I was like, is he talking about me?
Yeah.
Man, it's so great to be on with you guys. And thank you so much for having me on.
Nah, no problem, man. Hey, I try to do it justice, man. I know you didn't accomplish so much stuff, but I just, when I introduce my guests, I just want to say thank you for taking the time because you got responsibilities, and I appreciate you sacrificing the time to be here today. And I just want you, any and everybody, right, that I have on, and specifically you today, to know, like, hey, I appreciate you, and I want you to know that, hey, through the introduction, that, hey, I'm excited. I told my wife, I was like, yeah, I got Pastor John C on, the one that had me come to Man Make. I got him on today. So, man, definitely excited to be here, man. And just wanted to know, man, I know we've been snowed in here in Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, man. Just, man, how you doing? How your fam doing, man?
Man, we're blessed, man. Just trying to stay warm, and the family is doing well. We're just taking this time to kind of, retool and refocus. We got the year going very, very fast. And so I'm always appreciative of any time we can get a little break and just kind of pause a little bit. So, man, the family as well. I really, really, really am excited about what God has for us this year. So I can't complain at all.
Nah, definitely, man. And I know, I believe your youngest son, I want to say, is he wrestling? He's wrestling right now. And I think you told some, so I know you're excited about that. Then your junior, right? Not too long ago, a few months ago, I want to make sure I get it right. Ordained minister. Follow your footsteps. Like, talk about that a little bit, man.
Most definitely. My oldest son, CJ, is, I just ordained and licensed him just this past, I think it was in November, to be in the ministry. And he is doing his thing on campus. He's got a ministry there on campus called The Call. And they meet every Thursday night, do their Bible study. So if you're listening and you're on campus, you're a student, you want to have a Bible study, a home away from home, they're out there and they meet in several different places. But I'm excited about what God is doing with him. My middle son, Jarrell, he's a wrestler, senior at Rockville High School. And I think he's gearing toward going to MTSU as well next year. My baby girl she's real artsy. She's into the arts. She sings and dances, and she's a freshman at Rockville High School. So we've got a couple of more years, and we're close to being empty nesters, man. We're almost there. Almost there.
Got about 3.5 more years, man. So how is that like an exciting thing with you and the missus, or is that a nervous thing? Because I got some years, right? But I know it's going by fast. But like how I still try to learn, as I go from those that are already there. So how is that like emotionally?
Well, man, some of the saints that went on before me used to tell me when they're in your house, they're on in your pockets, and then when they're out of your house, they're on your heart. So you just kind of trust that you've raised them right, and that you've instilled some values in them, and that's how we do with CJ. We just try to trust that we've brought them up the right way, and so we're gonna do the same and apply the same pressure with the other kids. We're just gonna let them go, but I think, man, it's bittersweet, and it's also very rewarding for us. Toya and I we were married young. I was a sophomore when we got pregnant with CJ and in college, and so we really don't know marriage without kids. So in that sense, our path, having kids young, gives us the ability to still be a little young when they're out of the house.
Yeah.
So we're excited about that, man.
And you probably already got trips. Like, hey, look.
Oh my gosh, we already know what we're doing with the rooms, the extra rooms in the house. Can't wait. We're planning and strategizing. So, hey, man, we're excited about it.
I know for sure, man. It's crazy because when you go back to your parents' house, right, and you notice the room is changed to something different. I'm like, hold on, hey, mom, that was my closet. Now that's your shoe closet, and this was my dresser with my clothes. Now your clothes in it. So I'm like, you and dad just moved, and but it's that, hey, son, it's hey, you grown now, right? And
Hey.
But definitely, man, and so I like that, and I appreciate your transparency, and I like that because I think you could speak to young adults out there that may be parents in college and may feel like, man, look, I don't know what I'm going to do. How can I finish? Man, talk to how you were able to finish. And this one, you seen the questions I sent over, but that's why I love just the flow of things because God has His will and His way. And I think that your story could definitely impact those that are listening. But like, what was your mindset? How did you finish? Right. Being a parent while in college and saying like, hey, man, look, I'm still going to finish, do what I got to do, take care of responsibility and ultimately be and become the man of God and then, what I'm saying, still you and your wife be together, stay together, get married and be together ever since, man. Like share some advice with the young adults that might be experiencing that.
Yeah, man. So like I'm from a little city called Niceville, Florida, and it's right there near Destin, Florida. And so, we're right there in the Panhandle. I get that question all the time. People are like, where is that at? That's up in the Panhandle, right? If you go to Destin or Panama City, that's my stomping grounds around in that area. Yeah. And man, my dad and my mom, we were right by a military base. And so we kind of had this conglomerate of people. We had a village that was kind of diverse. And so I was kind of shaped and molded by church culture. My dad was a pastor. And so we kind of, had some core values instilled in us. And, and I was just a very naive, unexperienced church boy, man, who came to MTSU. There was a whole lot of culture shocks for me. Yeah. Because as I told you, man, we grew up Niceville. I don't know if the statistic is still the same, but it's probably about 75% white. And then, the other percentage is just this diverse population of Hispanic and all kinds of cultures, man, because we're right by the largest Air Force base, it's Eglin Air Force Base right there. And man, those were my friends, my buddies, my people, my circles were diverse. Yeah. Then I come to Murfreesboro. And I don't know where it was, like how it was when you were coming up, but back in my day, when I came back in 99, my gosh, I'm telling my age, there was this club called Club 328. Yeah. And that was my first experience, man. I'm a church boy. I mean, so when you get to college, you got this newfound freedom. I'm like, man, let me go try this. I'm going to try to hang out a little bit.
See what they talking about.
And, I remember calling my dad and my mom saying, I don't know if I can do this. And they were thinking like, are you okay? Is there some danger? I was like, nah, man, like it's too many black people. I had never been around that many black people.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, wow, like and it was a culture shock for me, man. And I'm like, okay. My dad just started laughing. He's from Cedartown, Georgia. He's like, well, son, you're gonna have to adjust. You know, you're gonna have to learn a new angle. He said you're gonna see how blessed you really are. And that was my first experience, like knowing, like, man, we grew up and we had both parents in the house, and I had a father in my house in my life. And I'm like, man, we're blessed. And I started hearing some stories from other guys, and I'm like, wow. So that was my really first like lesson of, okay, you're different. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so then, you know, I started teaching. I joined a local church here, and I started teaching Bible studies, and the guys on the team calling me Rev, and, you know, and I'm going through that little stage right there. And all of a sudden, you know, I see this little red bone on campus, you know, she my eye or whatever. And so I'm still doing my campus thing and my Bible study. And so I said, man, I got to holler at her. And push come to shove, man. And we start talking and, you know, got in a relationship. And then, you know, she got pregnant. And let me phrase that, because sometimes we make the woman look bad. I got her pregnant. Let me say it that way. And so the thing of it is, man, I was teaching Bible studies. I felt so bad. I was like, oh man, like, what are people gonna think? I messed up. And so, man, I called my dad, and I never forget this conversation. I called my dad, and we were already engaged to be married, but he was like, do you love this girl? I said, yeah, she the one. I love her. You know, we're engaged already. He said, well, just push the date up. And I'm like, oh. Like, okay. So we pushed the date up, man. He said, what you crying for? And I was like, you know, this is what, and we'll talk about this later, but this is why it's very important to have that male figure in your life. And I was like, man, I'm out here teaching Bible study, and I'm out here doing this. And he said, look, son, you're going to make some decisions even in the future that's not going to be popular. And he said, if God forgave you from the past decisions, he'll forgive you from this. He said, now, this is what we do as Johnson men. We take care of babies. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna dry your tears. You're gonna stand up, and you're gonna go be a man. You're gonna go take care of this baby. So he goes down this list of stuff, and man, I grew up right there at that moment, man. 21 years old, I became a man. Mm-hmm. And it's because now I got a baby. I got a baby coming, man, and like, boom, and I got a father who's telling me, no, this is what we do. We don't run out of these situations. We run to them. Here's what it looks like to be a man. And so, man, that day I kind of grew up, and here we are, 21 years old, man, figuring it out. Yeah. Like, my parents were 6 hours away. Her parents are in Colorado Springs. We didn't have nobody. We can't drop the kids off here. Man, so we went through some rough patches, and we went through some stages, but we just had to figure it out, man. So my advice to that young adult who maybe has some kids, you have a young family, like, what I wish we had was mentors. So like, if you are blessed to have couples and parents and mentor older couples and parents that are close, that you can call and get advice and get some things to lean on, you can avoid mistakes by just listening to somebody.
Yeah, man. Hey, you know, but I had to lean in. You got me, because it's like, and it makes sense, you know, just doing like preparing and learning more about you and what you do. When I look at the different services that you offer through your ministry, Zion Christian Ministries, which you are the lead pastor of. When I look at the single ministry, the couple, retreats that you all have, it's like you and your wife could speak from every lens. You know what I mean? When you talk about growing, you know, being young, young parents, and being married young, and then being married with kids young, and then growing, right? How to stay in love and grow your marriage as your kids get older. Because one thing I realize, and those that are, you know, there's young adults that's listening, and you want to get married in the future, or you're on track to, like, man, marriage is heavy. and kids are heavy, right? Even when you got two parents, you know, and you like, look, man, this is what we want. We want kids. Man, they heavy. It's like if I'm using the analogy of lifting doing bench press, the bar is marriage, right? Every kid is a plate. You just putting them on, you know, and it's great.
Yes.
But it's heavy and it adds more weight to where, okay, how do I adjust my hands to hold this weight? Like, what adjustments do we got to make in marriage to now make, you know, to adjust to, okay, we're going to a family of two, to now a family of three, to a family of four, to a family of five, man. And so I salute you on that, man. And even, you know, being man enough to take care of your responsibilities, because me personally, I don't have a relationship with my biological father. I was raised by my stepfather. So and so when my mindset is like, look, man, you ain't got no choice. Like, you know, you gotta be there, right? And so, man, salute to you and salute to your dad, man. You know, just putting that in your ear and you know, and it goes back to you growing up. Like, so being a pastor, we know you're a pastor now. Like, what about your childhood, your upbringing prepared you for what you do now? Like, when you talk about just being raised in that very diverse environment and two-parent home.
Man, what's so amazing about that question is there were some things that I discovered late in life that I realized my childhood prepared me for. Like, it was, you know, I mean, even before we talk about the church thing, you know, I think about my relationship with my dad and my mom. I didn't know that how they raised us. My mom and my dad, you know, my dad was a pastor, but he pastored a small church. Okay. And he had always wanted to see this church grow and bloom and blossom. My mom, she is so anointed, and, you know, but God didn't have that for them. You know, it was going to happen. You know, but he was just supposed to lay the foundation. Right. And, you know, a lot of this is hindsight. Right. And so I'm thinking about my mom and dad, their life was raising their kids, man. Like, all of my siblings, man, if we walk in the room, we're all at this age right now. It's yes, sir, no, sir. If we go into rooms where people older than us, or we perceive their season or older, it's yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. People have to get me all the time, like, Bishop, you know, wait a minute. You say yes, yes. Even my seasoned saints that I'm their pastor, and they come in, I'm yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. I just was raised that way, man. Like, and my mom and dad instilled values in us. We were disciplined hard. My sisters, and my brother, we all speak the same language because we came from the same house.
Yeah.
And, but we didn't realize it until now. Like, their life was devoted to raising their kids. My dad would look at us, me and my brother, and say, "You guys would not go out of my house and be menaces to society." You know, for my dad, I don't think, because he dropped out of school in high school. So education, even though it was important for us, you know, his biggest thing was, you're not going to come out of here and act up. Like, you're going to go to that school. I better not get one principal call me for a behavior thing. Like, we can work with the grades. We can get you tutors for that. But acting up in class, like, that was a big thing for him. And so all of those things, you know, having absolutes, I'm recalling all these lessons, man. Like, absolutes are those things that we are non-negotiable about. Like, that was instilled in us. My dad used to say stuff like this: shoot for the stars, right? And if you fall on a lower star, you're still in a high place.
Yeah.
You know, he would, you know, those are the things we would live by. He would say little jokes and stuff like this. You know, he'd be saying, like, hey, when he wants us to work together, he'd be like, hey, think together, work with each other. You know, don't think with me, not against me. You know, a man that can't think can't function. Drop your books, you lose your lesson. And I'm like, what is he talking about?
What is he talking about? But it made sense, right? The by like, time went by.
You know, and like, so, you know, coming up the way we come, he would shield us from stuff. I had friends going out partying, we be in church, you know, or, you know, your friends doing A, B, or C. He'd be like, no, y'all not going. Y'all gonna do this. And so we thought he was mean.
Yeah.
But hindsight, looking back, now I'm like, this is how I can go to a football team and be playing on the team, and guys call me Rev.
Yeah.
Because he knew we were different. And he would always tell us, this family is destined for greatness. Son, when you walk in a room, you're different than everybody. This is literally how we were raised.
Yeah.
You're different from everybody sitting in there. And to the point to where some of my friends, like Big Thomas Johnson, who's down in Georgia, he's a big D lineman, played for the Falcons, and Big Marcus Harvey, who's here, owns his own business here in Murfreesboro. Like, these guys, I'd be trying to go out, JK, and they wouldn't even let me. They'd be like Jason Johnson, all these guys that I play ball with. They'd be like, man, why is Rev? Man, somebody take Rev home, man. Take Rev home. Rev, you can't be in here tonight, man.
Hey, they don't even feel comfortable with you. Come on.
No.
Come on, bro. Like, hey, y'all take. Yeah, I remember being in one, because I used to go out too, and I want to definitely get to that, because I think I could relate, and it leads me even to your son, the position that I know he's in playing football, and I know how people look at you and the pressures. But I remember being at one instance, and they were just like, and I'm just over there like looking so, like uncomfortable. They're like, man, somebody drive JK back to the apartment, because he ain't. And the boy took me home, man. So it's that's that respect, man. But also the knowing that you're different. And I think that knowing that you're different doesn't always feel good. I think when I was younger, even now, being older, you still know you different. Not saying you want to.
It's lonely.
Yeah, man. I can't say it no better than that. I can't say it. No, I cannot say it. Loneliness, man. How do you deal with that? How does a young adult who know they're different, not better, but you're different? Like, there's just it's you'll do certain things, but you don't go that far. Or you can, what I'm saying? You can go certain places, but it's still standards. And it's just like sometimes you be in a whole crowd and you just feel alone. Like, how does a young adult, like, what I'm saying, just maneuver through that and be okay?
It's that season of embrace, right? Like, for me, like I remember having this conversation with my son CJ, because that senior year, and like the pressure of being a pastor's kid, and everybody's got this expectation, and you're different, right? And there's certain things you're not supposed to do. You can't do this, and you can't. And he was running from it. And I told him, I said, son, like, he came to me, he's like, Dad, I don't know, like, this PK thing, like, I don't know, and this just being there, I don't know if I'm like, this is hard. And I was like, well, son, if you came to me for sympathy, I'm not the one to come for sympathy, because I went through it. Like, I was the pastor's son, I was the different one. But here's what I told him: the moment I stopped running from it and embraced it, it changed. Like, the moment I start saying, okay, well, I'm different, I can't go out. Okay. People can't see me doing certain things. Okay. Well, I can't cuss. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to be able to do boom, boom, boom. And so when I embraced that and started to surround myself with people, here's the critical thing. I started to surround myself with people who have just as much to risk. Yeah. Start surrounding myself with people who were just as different. Yeah. Now I have a community. Now I have a circle. I didn't have circles then, because everybody around me was doing the complete opposite of what lifestyle I was trying to live. And so now what has happened is God has blessed me to be able to be surrounded by people who, like, okay, you're different. Oh yeah, man, you can't do that either. Wow. How do you handle that? Oh, you can't go over there either. So let's go here together then. Yeah. No, and so I believe that's how you cope. And there's enough young people out there. What we're seeing is this uprising. I really believe that there's a new generation of believers who are separating themselves from the pack and really, really standing out, living for Christ and doing what God has called them to do. And I would say to that young adult, find that group, find that circle, find where those communities are, and get in and connect, right? And then now it won't be so lonely, you know.
Nah, for sure, man. Man, that's powerful, man, because that's a real thing. Even, you get older, you might be in a job setting, playing, even when I was blessed to play pro ball, it was just, no different than being in college and things like that, man. And so that's dope that your son, got somebody like you that knows exactly what it's saying, and you were able to be able to assist them with that, man. And so, man, just keeping with the, growing up, man. So you play sports, right? So we know you made your way to MT. So, like, what was that like growing up playing sports? Did you only play football? Did you play more than one sport? And what led into you going or getting to MTSU?
I played in high school. I played football. I ran track. I was in Florida. They have, in Okaloosa County, rather, they have a weightlifting team. So I was on the weightlifting team.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it doesn't look like much now, but man,
you still, hey, I'm about to say, you still look like you're throwing the caddies now. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just doing body weight now. I can't do
hey,
that.
push up, hey, just push ups. Hey.
Yeah, man. I mean, I did that and played football and ran track, and I pinch ran a little bit. I mean, pinch hit and stole some bases every once in a while on the baseball team, but it was nothing like real serious. And so that's kind of what I did in high school. And MTSU was, I think, my 5. I was at Northern Arizona, Arkansas, actually. Houston Nutt sat in my living room. And I think I don't know if it was Tommy Tuberville, whoever was at Auburn at the time, came and visited. I was thinking about Auburn at the time, and then MTSU, Andy McCullum came, and he said to my dad, "I cannot offer you what all these other teams are offering. I can't offer you any of that. We're not the SEC." And this is what sold it for me and my dad. He said, "But what I can guarantee you is when he leaves MTSU, he'll be a man." That like, for my dad, that was the biggest thing. Like, oh, it's not just about football with this guy.
Yeah.
Like it was about developing these guys into men. And so when I came to Murfreesboro, man, I loved it. Like, I loved it. Wasn't too big. It wasn't too small. And the determining factor was, to me, I looked at the roster and I felt like I can come in and play. And I did. I came in, true freshman, Mississippi State, outside shade of the tight end. Let's go. I was playing safety. And so that was really what played into my decision for MTSU, man. And so, but it was a great decision. I felt like it was something that needed to happen, especially now. Here's the kicker: I wasn't even the one, I guess, prospected to go to college off my team. Listen, I had a cat named Freddie Wilbon on my team. Oh my gosh. Probably the best running back I ever seen.
Nice.
My homeboy, Alex Godfrey, who went to Valdosta State. These cats, they were the real deal, man. And I was the short guy, right? I was, stature-wise, I was the shortest guy, out of those 3, and nobody even saw me coming. But I just kept working, man. I knew that if I didn't get a scholarship, I probably wasn't going to go play college ball. And so I just kept working. And, my senior year, it was like the last couple of months, my senior years, when I started getting those colleges, they were coming down to see them too. And they were like, "Who's that kid?"
Yeah.
But I didn't come off the field, man. I returned punts. I was in practice, I was running scout team. I mean, we get the starters be done. I go over there and run a scout team. I never came off the field. I said, man, I need as many reps as I can get. I'm just trying to get better. I love competing. And that's what got me on the field. And that's what got me a scholarship.
And so when you say that, man, in today's climate, right? Like you say, you got a son playing at MTSU. We look at NIL, we look at the transfer portal. Do you think when young adults, I did a podcast, I just released it a couple days yesterday on the video, and then a couple days before I did the audio. When I talk about just considering the transfer portal, use it wisely. Do you think when young adults are making decisions on what college they're choosing, and even when parents are sitting down with them, the fact that is that, or should they ask themselves, will this coach help me be a better man, and how? Is that a question that still should be considered today?
Oh,
Or should it be about the how much NIL money can I get, or things of that nature? Or should that man developing me into who I'll be way after I'm done playing ball, should that be a question that they're asking themselves?
Listen, I think more especially today because money is involved. Like you're giving an 18, 19-year-old kid millions of dollars in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases. Like for me, like we gotta be concerned about the character and integrity of these young men. If not, man, and we're already seeing it happen. Like kids are it's just going to get out of hand. And so I think parents nowadays, like it has to be of concern. Like, how is this head coach or this coaching staff going to help develop them into men? I think like for me, for my son, what I told CJ, like he had the opportunity. It was people recruiting him in high school. I had high schools trying to get him to come and play private schools and all that. And I'm like, no, we're gonna stay right here. Like you need to focus on this right here. And even now at MTSU, the urge is to, everybody wants to jump in the portal when things don't necessarily go their way. Like I'm like, no, hey, make that coach say we can't hold this kid off the field. Yeah. Right. Like for me, I always tell my kids this: it's making you better. At the end of this, these cats, 4 years, they're on to the next person. Some cases, 3 years, they're on to the next person. It's a business. Yeah. But in the long run, what kind of character have you developed? What have you learned in the past 4 years? And I'm not afraid that most of these guys are just learning who the highest bidder is, right? Yeah. And the problem with that, when you start chasing money, when you start chasing that bag, now you become controlled by the bag. Now you're in bondage to the bag. And one day the bag's going to run out. Yeah. And when it's time to stop playing and when all of the attention is gone, who have you become? And I think that should be one of our focus points. And it's just, man, I don't know. I think they're going to have to do something with this NIL and transfer portal, man, because it's really hurting the kids.
Man, I think you said something, man. You said at the end of the day, when you're done, the question you got to ask yourself, who did I become? And it's powerful because that's the point I'm gonna get to as far as like just men, right? Developing men, right? And you being in your son's life, because I said this on the episode that I dropped, and I talked about. I said, hey, we got to ask ourselves, if you consider the transfer portal, you got to ask yourself, why am I transferring? Like, is it a better opportunity out there? Okay, that makes sense. You want a fresh start. Okay, but are you running from some? Because if you transfer, you could be running from your development, right? If I get out too soon, and that's what I love about the old system was that I couldn't transfer unless with penalty, right? But so kids stayed. You learn how to stay, man. Even if that wasn't my experience, thank God, my experience was great. But we all had teammates that were not happy with that. But those that stayed, I know that they're probably better men because of that, because they learn how to deal with a situation they're not happy with. They learn how to deal with competition. You learn how to deal with, how do I still wake up and go handle my business to get this degree, even though I don't like my current situation? Because at the end of the day, as a man, you take care of him. I can't just go be like, oh, I don't like my job, I'm gone, I'm gonna quit. No, I got mouth to feed, I got to be able to provide. So how do I overcome that? And so the things that I went through in college, or like you said, not having the opportunity to be able to transfer or chase this or chase that, it made me better as a man. And like you said, I think that a lot of kids are missing that. But that's why they need you, the greatness coach, right? Because you have a heart and you got a passion for everybody, right? You're a leader of people, right? But specifically when I look at the things that you're doing with Man Maker Academy and you know, your high school track coach, and you took the Man Maker Academy into Laverne High the last time we talked, I'm pretty sure in the process, or even in more high schools. But where did that passion for men, and why is it important for men to have young men, to boys and young adults and young men, to have older men in their life?
In 2012, I did one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I stood up in a pulpit down in Cedartown, Georgia, and I eulogized my father, the great late Bishop T.P. Johnson Sr. In his casket was written, "May the works I've done speak for me." And as I stood up, those words were resounding in my head as I looked over that crowded room with people of whom I didn't even know. I had young men coming up saying he was like a dad to me. And I'm like, what? I don't even know who you are. Had young ladies coming up like he was a dad I never had, you know, and it hit me at that moment. His impact was felt not only by our family, but abroad. And I'm sitting there after that, after I eulogized him, and, you know, we're back at the hotel and kind of having me in a little emotional moment. One of my friends up in South Carolina calls me. He said, hey, man, I just wanted to let you know I'm not a preacher. I'm not a pastor. I don't have any scriptures to give you. I don't have any of that. I don't have any spiritual advice to give you. Here's what I'm going to say to you. I was 32 at the time. He says, you had 32 years of your life with your dad. You've got 32 years worth of memories. He said, I never knew mine. He said, so at some point, I'm going to need you to quit being stingy and share some of that with us. Bro.
Whoa.
That hit me in such a way. I'm like, I do. I got all my dad's sermons. I got all these lessons. I got all this stuff he had taught me over the years. He was there when I fell off the bike the first time. Came to football games. And I'm like, this dude just said he never knew his daddy. Yeah. Now imagine what his life was like growing up without that. Mm-hmm. So I said, man, and when he said, share some of that, and he said this statement to me, bro. He said, I'm a fatherless father. He said, and I don't even know if I'm doing it right. I said, say no. Lord, say no more. Yeah. And so, man, I picked up a pen and I said, I'm going to try to remember everything I can remember that my dad taught me, that my brother taught me, that my uncles, everybody who had that impact. And I'm just writing. And so we structured it and came up with the book called Man-Made Men. You know, and so it's a man's guide to making other men. And so I wrote that book, and from that book, I developed this 8-week mentoring program called Man Maker Academy. And so like that void, that urge to say there's so many young men out there who did not have the luxury of having a father in their life, a man in their life, not even a father, just a man who could mentor them and teach them and instill in them. That was my motivation to say, okay, I had that and I was blessed. I was fortunate. Mm-hmm. I didn't choose my dad. God chose that for me, you know, and there's so many guys who never chose to be in a situation they're in, to grow up without their dads or their fathers, no matter what happened. And so I wanted to try to fill that gap, so to speak, and provide models for guys who didn't have what I had, man. And so that was kind of the inspiration behind, you know, Man Maker and the Man Maker movement is like, okay, let's provide these models. Let's build a community of men that I believe that manhood is best depicted in the company and the conversation and counsel of other men. And there's just some things a boy needs to hear from another man. For sure. And what our society has been accustomed to seeing, and what has become trend almost now, is this rise of women empowerment. And I love it. Mm-hmm. I don't want anybody to think I'm chauvinistic. I got 2 sisters. I got a daughter. I got nieces.
Yeah.
I love it. But what I believe that the rise of womanhood should not come at the expense of manhood, right? Like we gotta all grow together. And there's still a crying need for men in our society, for fathers in our family. See, now you just made something come alive now. See, but there's a crying need for manhood, man. And so like I really feel this. If you think about this, I saw somebody talking the other day. You think about how society is, it almost seems dysfunctional to see a strong, especially in the African-American context, a strong Black man be a dad. Yeah. It almost becomes offensive to some people. Look at LeVar Ball. Yeah. His dad. You see what I'm saying? We don't know what that looks like. That just feels different. Yeah. Look at Joe Jackson. And look at Serena and Venus's dad. Look,
all painted negatively. On one end, they say we never present. Then when we are present, now you critique how we should be present, right?
And every name I just mentioned are arguably the GOATs in their profession.
Yeah. That is real.
And they were pushed by a father.
Yeah. And I think, just the tap into that. I think that as men, things come out different, right? That I could say something to my son and daughter. My wife could say something to my son and daughter, and the tone is going to be different. The intensity may be different, but that's how I believe that's how God created us, right? That at the end of the day, that me and my voice, my son needs to hear that. My daughter needs to hear that, but then they need to hear my wife as well. That side as well, compassionate, and we as men could be compassionate. We could teach our kids, what a compassionate man looks like, affectionate man looks like. And I just think, like you said, with the world, the paint. That's bad. LeVar Ball bad. And it's just like, nah, man. I think that at the end of the day, as a man, confident Black man, that I might not agree with everything they have done, but overall, they present.
They were there.
They're present. And I think that when you're around someone and their kid, like if your kids around you so much, they know your tone still means love because of relationship. I see it every day with teaching. That if I build a relationship with my students and then one day I come in, or some days I have to raise my voice to get their attention, they know it's coming from a place of love because of relationship. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I think we look at LeVar Ball, we like, man, he yelling, but his kids see love. You know what I'm saying? Serena and Venus, they see love because they know the relationship and where that voice and where that passion is coming from, though, man.
Yeah. That's it, man. Like, and it's so powerful to hear fathers in general, man, really step up and take their rightful place and teach and pray and teach their kids to pray and worship and serve. And like, it's just a powerful, powerful thing to see. And man, that's really been something that's been heavy on my heart, man. And just to see how God is. We got another session of Man Maker Academy coming up on the 22nd. There's still time to register. You can go to manmaker.org if you're listening. And it's not just for kids. We do 13 and up, because the guys that go through Man Maker, the older guys, they come out and become coaches and help me teach it to other men. So like, I don't want people to think like we all need the community of men. Like we all need each other. So, and that's just, what I really feel like in this season, God is really calling men to be true men and leaders and protectors and providers and so forth and so on. So, yeah.
And definitely those that are listening and watching this episode, it is a great program. I was blessed to be a part of the ceremony. The culmination of all 8 lessons and weeks, and I was able to be a part of that ceremony and to see the masculine affection in them, strong men crying. You could see the look on women facing their life. Like shock, not seeing men come and express their feelings and verbalize, because men, we try to, I'm good. but being able to verbalize, I love you, son, because of this, or their sons being able to say, I thank you, dad. I thank you, uncle. It was a beautiful thing to see, man. So I definitely, if you got a son, or if you are, like you say, 13 and up, and you're like, look, I got to be a part of that, man. Definitely hit up Pastor Chris, man, and Man Maker Academy. You will be changed forever for the better with that, man. And watching you from a distance, man, on social media. I think, when I believe you came and talked to us, because when I was in school, I know you weren't the chaplain at the time, but you came and spoke to us. And so seeing you around, being around and watching on social media, I really respect, man, just your realness. And what I mean by that is, like, I even comment on some of your posts, like you were having the tough conversations in the barbershop with the pastor, Caucasian pastor.
Yeah.
And then you said something which I grew up, when I grew up in the church, I always heard, what are you gonna do for the church? As if, like, and I even was told that, God doesn't care about me playing football, right? And I didn't believe it, because I'm like, God cares about the number of hairs on my head, so I know He cares about me playing ball. And my reasoning with that, I care. I believe God cares who wins or loses. And the reason why I say this is because it's a lesson you learn. Everybody that just lost in the playoffs this week, they're learning the lesson right now. They're becoming better.
Yeah.
They allowed that loss to make them, they're becoming better. And then the people that won, they needed that victory. That victory is, some of that victory just helped them make more money. Some of that victory, so God has blessed them through the win, those that won, and the people that lost, God is still blessing them to get better. And that's why I'm like, God, I know you. That's how my belief is. So I grew up in a church where it was like, what can you do for God in the church? Right. And so I'm like, but then when I got to school and I started going to different colleges or different churches, I'm like, they started talking about what you do outside of the church, entrepreneurship, how you can still glorify and exalt God. And I heard you talk about a message the other day, when I started researching, you got the Pastor Plus, and you said, if you'll wake up, pastors, one day and realize all you were was a pastor,
Yeah.
that you can tap into all the other things. And I was like, man, I don't hear a lot of pastors talking about that. That is more to you than what you offer in the church, that you could offer God your talents and gifts outside the church. So I know that was long-winded, but like, where did that come from? Where does that come from, you showing your congregation, yeah, I'm a pastor, but I'm a businessman, I'm an author, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a businessman. And how are you using that, like, because you're showing other pastors that's doing it, like, look, like, I'm more than just getting up here on Sunday morning, which is an important responsibility, but that's just not who God said be, right? So, man, talk to him about that. I know that's a lot, but I just wanted to really expound on that to let you know, like, I really respect what you're doing. And just want to give you an opportunity to kind of share on that, man.
Respect, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, man. Like, so it comes from two places. My dad, one, man, like, a lot of people really don't know this, but his last 2 years, man, he didn't really want to pastor anymore. I'll let you preach when you want to. Just come on up and just retire. And, and he said to me, he said, son, how am I gonna pay bills? How am I gonna eat? So I don't have anything else like that. And I had to watch him, even through the time where he was sick. I had to watch him go to a church out of obligation and not really want to be there. Like, that's bondage. I said, this won't be me. This won't be me. And so like, and he told me, he said, man, whatever you do, use all your stuff to create income. And so a lot of pastors, even today, and I know this to be true because I talk to them, they're my friends.
Yeah.
They are in bondage at their church. Here's what I mean by that. Afraid to make decisions because they don't want people to leave. People start leaving. Now that affects tithes and offering. Well, tithes and offerings get affected. You don't get paid. Mm-hmm. See? So now I treat people differently. I can't really pastor the way I want to. I can't be strict or stern. I can't move in this because I'm in bondage, because I don't want them to I have 5 streams of income.
Yeah.
Zion is just one.
Yeah.
So there is no bondage there. Right. And so that's where I had to say, okay. And, I've been blessed. Man, I pastor what I believe to be one of the best churches on this side of glory. Our team is phenomenal. We've done a lot of training to get our team where it's functioning now, even in my absence. I don't even have to be there. And that thing runs smooth. And so, I was doing something before I started pastoring. Yeah. I was coaching. I was doing motivational speaking. I was mentoring. So I put all of that stuff on the shelf to pastor this phenomenal church. And it got to a point now where the team is like flowing and moving. We're growing. God was like, okay, you see that over there that you sat down? Pick that back up. Because there's a scripture. Jesus says, be salt of the earth, not the church, salt of the earth. And I often say this, if my anointing only works in church, it's not anointing at all.
Yeah, you can turn it off.
Jesus didn't even have a church building.
Yeah.
He went into the marketplace. He went into the villages, into the cities and the towns. He was out. And so, man, like, I think sometimes we get so caught up. Church has taught us historically. Church culture has taught us that a pastor is just preach, visit people, and do communion and do revivals, and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, we saw examples of that. Jeremiah prophesied for 70 years, not one single convert, and he did ministry all day, every day, but he was depressed. He was so depressed, he wrote a whole book in the Bible about his depression called Lamentations.
Yeah.
The word Lamentations means to cry. He wrote a whole book in the Bible just crying, stressed, depressed. How many times did Moses quit? Yes. I mean, like, this is the reality. But we don't talk about, however, all of the countless amount of people who did something else. Luke was a doctor. Matthew worked for the IRS. Jesus was a carpenter. I mean, like, we go through all of these different things and never realize everybody that Jesus called came from the marketplace. They were businessmen, right? And so we've got to get to the point to where we're not just limiting. See, my pulpit is not just at 4750 John Bragg Highway. Yeah. This podcast is part of my pulpit. It's part of my reach online. What I do at the school, the greatness coach, people may invite the greatness coach, but Bishop come in too.
And they go, hey, they got to get on. They got to get on. Like, hey, what you said? No, that's real though.
Yeah. Real. So, yeah, man. And so, like, man, I've been blessed to say, when I die, I'm telling you, man, my dad, he said, may the works I've done speak for me. I said, say less.
Say less.
When my sons and my daughter look at my casket, you know what mine's going to say? I'm empty.
Gave it all yet.
I'm empty. I got nothing left. Yeah. Every gift, every talent, every skill, everything, every book, everything I had in me, I got it out.
Yeah.
And when I lay down for the last time, I'll do so with a smile on my face and say, I'm empty.
And that, man, I'm telling you, man, like, that's refreshing. I think, man, young adults, from my age, I know I'm an upper young adult, right? But even all the way down, they need to see that, I believe. They need to hear that. And I say that because, I know, like, they could feel like church might stifle them. And it's like, no. Like, no, like, God could, like you said, this is what you're doing in the church, but you're still you, the gifts, the same anointing, right? Wherever you go, it's still you taking all of that. And I just, man, I think that's powerful, man. I really do, especially like I say, how I grew up. What I was being told or what I was learning and thinking that it was just what can I do? What can I offer the church? Okay. And nothing outside. But to see not only can you be a blessing in the house, of God, but God's people don't just go to church, right? God's people at the school. God's people when you coach them kids, when I teach them in class, when if I'm out there playing sports or what, God's people is everywhere, man. And so I think that, man, that's a cheat code you got, man. That's a cheat code. And real talk, and how you put it, the freedom, because you know everything ain't tied to this. That okay,
Right.
if you ultimately, the giving is between you and God anyways, but if you think that you hurting me by not giving, you're not, because I got other stuff. God got other avenues on how I get paid and things of that nature. And I think, like you said, man, it just allows you to be free, man. And so man, that is amazing, man, and awesome. With that, man.
COVID should have taught all of us that we have to have something else. And this is any young leader, any pastor, any minister. Listen, COVID should have taught us, because nobody was coming to church. See, our church grew through COVID, but watch this. My wife was doing Kyle, which is the mentoring program for the young ladies.
Yeah,
She was doing it in one room. I was doing Man Maker in another room, and we were doing it, whether it be virtual or in person. We were doing that during COVID, folks. And watch this. We had families coming there and joining our church.
Oh, through the program. Like they brought their kid, or the women came.
Yeah, they brought their
and they joined through the program, because you all had an extended arm blessing them through that they joined.
And man, once we had kids getting saved at Man Maker, no band, no musician, nobody else there, no people there. We're just back there teaching them how to be men, and they're all of a sudden confessing Jesus Christ as Lord.
Man, that's amazing.
Is that not ministry too?
That is.
So that's just a word to somebody, man. Like when the Lord opens a door for you, whether you're the entrepreneur, the business leader, or you're the creator, the influencer, if you go through that door, you don't just leave the rest of you at home.
Yeah.
He has opened that door so that you can walk through it and be who you are. You're the salt. Don't just be the salt in the church. Go sprinkle that salt in the earth. Ooh.
For sure. Nah, you preaching out here, man. For sure. Now, what are some of your future plans, man? Just what things you might be working on. I see another book, A Life of Boundaries, moving toward intentional wholeness. But just what's some projects, man, or things that you might be that you are working on, or things you're looking to accomplish and do, man, in the future, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, man. So like this year is our theme at the church is live, right? So like we're like, man, living our best life all year long. And so I'm going to continue to push Man Maker and the whole Man Maker movement. That's a given. But I'm really pushing hard this year, man. It's coming up. We've got our couples and our singles retreat or camp, and that's going to be down in Destin, Florida. So you can go to my website, www.chjohnson.org, or shameless plug. Here's marriage.
Oh, yeah, let go. Put it on now. Hey, let's go.
October 10th through the 14th, and then we're coming back with singles camp. Well, singles camp is actually the week before, so we'll be down there, so you can kind of catch all of that. And man, like that's just one of the things we're gonna be pushing all year. So I'm gonna be doing some little pop-up podcast and some features kind of leading up to those two events. Yeah. Also, man, God's really been burdening. I have this burden for to create a space for PKs, man, like preachers' kids. And so that's coming out this year sometime. We're going to create a space for pastors' kids, preachers' kids, or even if your family member is the pastor and you're having to serve in ministry with them, like we need a space. So I've been really burdened to do that. So that's coming out sometime this year. I just wrote a book called The 3T Leader. And I'm pushing that this year. My 3 T's of leadership is teach, train, trust. How do you duplicate yourself to avoid burnout? If you teach somebody, you train them, And then now you got to sit back and trust them. And oftentimes leaders don't trust those who follow them because they failed to teach and train them. So like I'm pushing that book and that concept all year, man. And then every year I'm pushing myself. I've done so the past 2 years. I'm on a 5-year stint where every year I'm writing a devotional. And so this year, last year, I did my man maker devotional. You can go pick that up to cajohnson.org. But I'm writing a devotional this year for couples. I really feel prompted to do something for married couples, a devotional every day. So those are my projects I got coming up, man. On top of course, Zion Christian Ministries, which is my baby.
For sure, man. Well, congrats on, man, all of that, man. And man, that's aspiring, that's inspiring, I should say, and very encouraging, man, for myself, man. Just looking at all the you keep on giving, man, and that's how I look at it, man. I got a quote that God blessed me with, is that your life should be a run-on sentence of wins and accomplishments. And as long as we're alive, man, every time you accomplish something, it's just a comma. Like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And that's just listening to you just go on and on and on, and like, hey, look, and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. I feel like that give us that motivation. That's vision, right? We know that where there's no vision, people perish. So you know what you're going after, and you know that you got something to go work for every single day. And that's what I want the young adults that's listening or that watch this is to realize, look, man, when you set goals, you got a vision for yourself every day and you striving for something. Now you got purpose. Now you waking up going after things, and not just waking up and aimlessly going about life, man. And so I'm gonna let you close by giving this piece of advice. But before I do that, I let my guests ask me one question. I don't let you prepare. I just say, hey, it could be about what we're talking about. Man, it could be about sports. It could be about anything, man. But I give my guests, I didn't ask all the questions for today. So I give my guests the opportunity to ask a question, and then I answer it. And then I let you close.
Most definitely, man. So one of the things I wanted to ask you was how long has you and your wife been married, and what are your plans this year?
All right. That's a good one. Right back at me, right? We've been married 8 years, so we're coming up on 9 this September. In September 5th, right? We're coming up on 9 years, man. So time is flying. We met in college. Met at college as well, man. She caught my eye, right? Just like yours did, caught my eye. But we met at SU. And as far as this year, what I'm looking at, man, is so we just released our book towards the end of last year. It worked for us, me and my wife, and so moving into this year, I know the summertime, as far as like as a speaker, I really want to hit the professional development circuit hard from July and in the beginning of August. Then there's some an event that we plan on doing as far as with the book, being able to like have a signing, invite a group of young adults out to where we sit down to talk about our book, talk about our journey, share the strategies, the things we did and did not do, and just being able to offer that opportunity for young adults to be able to come out. The ultimate goal is be able to go on a tour. A tour with the book, whether it's colleges, churches, young adult ministries, things of that nature, to be able to go down, speaking and sharing our story and being able to, also offer the book, man. And another thing is my ultimate goal. I would love to get, when we talk about ultimate goal with doing broadcasting, is to get on with a network, right? Right now I'm like a third party with MTSU. So we collaborate together with the football games, but ultimately to get on like with ESPN, or Fox, or CBS. So working towards that, and then a mentor program also, that I do life coaching. I do some coaching with some young adults and things of that nature. So really continue to build that and impact the young adults as well, man. So to sum it all up, is one, to have an event for our book, to is set off our tour with the book, to hit the professional development circuit very, very hard in July and the beginning of August, and to ramp up with the mentor program that I have through Win, man. So that's my time right now, man.
Man, I love it, man. I'll be praying for you guys and all your successes, and I feel some kind of way if Zion wasn't on that one of those church list, your book tour. Yeah, I feel
definitely got to be on that for sure. Nah, for sure, man. Y'all, like I say, man, I got a lot of respect for you, man. Real talk. Just the stuff I see you post, the things I see you do. I mean, pouring into whether it's MTSU or just like I just seeing you live life. When I seen you go to the Brown, what was that? The Browns game? Was that the Browns game? Like this stuff I see that, because like when I say young adult too, and seeing the people that operate and work in the church, is like that blessed me too, because it lets me know, like, man, like God wants us to live our lives. Like God, we're humans, we're people. And so that's inspiring to me. And then like look at you and your son. When you said, I didn't even know you played safety, but the see your son, you go to MT, your son go to MT, you play safety, your son play safety. You a pastor, your son a pastor. You ran Bible studies on campus. I remember Devin Pikes getting me, man, Jeremy, man, you need to I start doing Bible studies. Now your son doing it. Like, it's that stuff when your kids start to emulate you, and do things that you've done, not with you forcing them, but because they seen you be so great to them, that they like, man, I can't do a daddy. Like to see my son and daughter be like, it's Tackle Thursday for no reason. Like, hey, I must be doing something.
It's a different feeling, man.
That you feel so, man. All of that, man. I'm watching. I'm learning, right? And man, salute to you on that, man. And definitely we'll make sure that Zion Christian Ministries is on there for the tour as well, man. And man, I want to let you just lead the people one with advice. Like, this advice is, what type of advice would you give a young adult that is trying to balance their relationship with God and their pursuit of their goals and dreams? Like, how do they balance that, right? Or is it a balance, right? And then you can just close by once again telling people where they can, follow you and support you and buy what, your products and books, and get involved with Man Maker, and even more importantly, get involved with Zion Christian Ministries.
Yeah, like, so there's any young adult out there listening, I'd like to say to you, I say be careful when you use the term balance, because in my experience, whether it be you try to say work-life balance, whether you try to say church/business, whatever, balance means that every category gets equal amount of attention. And in my experience, it just doesn't happen. So what term I like to use more accurately would be this idea of intentional congruence. It is, how do I work everything moving in the same direction at the same time, right? I'm a businessman, I'm a coach, we mentor, and we minister. Okay, so how am I taking all of those things? Balance would say I have to do all of those equally. But we're getting ready to go down to Destin, Florida, my wife and I, and we're getting ready to do a couple of things. We're going to go down there and kick it. That's family time, right? So we're vacationing. And then we got singles and couples who are coming in who paid a registration fee. We're getting ready to make some money. And then we're going to minister down there. We're going to teach. That's congruence. We're doing one thing, feeding the other. So I wouldn't call that balance. It's just all feeding each other. And so find a way in your life to work in a level of congruence where one thing is feeding the other. So I would say that to you. Life is filled with ups and downs. Be yourself and be original, but most importantly, pull out everything in you and use it all. While you're young and you got the energy, you're sharp, you can go to bed at 2 and get up at 5. Run while you're fast. Experience in life is going to slow you down, but use all you can right now and do as much as you can. And most importantly, find you a mentor, find you a coach, learn to sit under somebody. It will cut years off your journey. Okay. If you want to connect with me, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok, I'm on it all. I don't know all of my usernames, but you could just type in Christopher A. Johnson and they'll pop up. And I think on Instagram, I'm the CAJ1. On Facebook, I am Christopher A. Johnson. But more especially, all of my information is found on my website my church website is thisiszion.org, but my personal website is cajohnson.org. And if you want information about Manmaker Academy, just go to manmaker.org. But I'd love to connect with you. I'm open for booking. I can come speak and teach and preach, mentor, whatever you need. I'm here. I'm ready to serve in any whatever capacity if those dates are available. And I just want to let everyone know that there is something else you have to offer, especially if you're a believer. You are not just a musician. You are not just a minister. You are not just a deacon. You are not just a Christian, but you got a plus. Find that plus, operate in it, and create multiple streams of income.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Like, and everything you just said is man, you speaking to me, man. Right? Man, there's freedom in your words. Freedom to use the gift that God has given you, and know that not only can I use my gifts to bring glory to God, but I could use my gift to fund and take care of my family. And I think that as a believer in God, I think that sometimes you can think that you got to keep it separate, right? But God doesn't want us to be broke, right? That's not who He created us to be. And He doesn't want us. We might go through a season, might go through adversity, but that's not where He want us to permanently stay. And that's not a place that we think as believers should think that I'm always be in a place of lack, because you're not. But we can't live with that belief. And so, man, your words got power, got freedom. And man, I hope that the young adults out there, the people in general that are listening or that will watch this, man, I truly hope that you were blessed by Pastor Chris and his words and his presence like I was today, man. Pastor Chris, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. And everybody that's out there, man, continue to wake up, striving to win on purpose. Be intentional about winning, and y'all have a blessed day, man. See y'all on the next episode. Thank y'all.